The question that's being posed is, are you fly enough for success? In order to arrive at an answer to that question, we must first define what it means to be fly. Now, of course, this word has been in rotation for at least half a century, if not a full century. If we were to break down fly individually in terms of the letters F.L.Y, we understand that F is the 6th letter, L is the 12th letter, Y is the 25th letter. And of course, when you add all these together, you get the number 7. We understand 7 to be a magical number. But why is 7 a magical number? One of the reasons is each number can be divided by 360. However, when you divide 360 by 7, it comes out as a uneven number. For example, 360 divided by 1 is 360, of course. By 2 is 180. By 3 is 120. By 4 is 90. By 5 is 72. By 6 is 60. By 7 is 51.4. 8 is 45. And 9 is 40. So 7 is the only number that comes out uneven because it's representing the realm of advanced mathematics, the quantum reality, the dark side of the moon, or the south node in astrology. Whenever we're dealing with the number 7, we are dealing with the headless immortal. The headless immortal represents an immortal who is neutral. What does it mean to be neutral? It means to embody the principle of polarity. In other words, the quantum reality is a chaos realm. So to be fly is to be able to efficiently and effectively navigate the quantum world or the chaos realm. What is the chaos realm? For one, if we were to take it to supreme alphabets, the F will represent father, the L will represent love, hell, or right, and the Y will represent the question, why? Now, what is a father? The father is the originator. The father is the one planting the seed. What is love? Love is the nourishment of the seed. The seed has to be nourished. So why does the question why comes up? Because we know if you plant 5 seeds of the same type of plant, they will all manifest differently, regardless of if you nourish them all the same way. Because the law of the universe produces variation. The laws of the universe will not allow 2 things to be exactly the same. So it's not just a variation in the outcome or the effect of the plant, it's also a variation in the blueprint of the seed. No 2 snowflakes are the same, as they say. So the number 7 represents the question as well as the answer. Meaning I can have 5 different seeds of the same type of plant and water them and nourish them all the same way. But because the universe is within advanced mathematics, contained within the womb of advanced mathematics, there will always be variation produced, even if you do it exactly the same. So the reason the number 7 represents the dark side of the moon or the quantum world of the moon, and we know the moon represents illusion or the subconscious mind, the dark chambers or the internal chambers of the subconscious mind. We know that the subconscious mind is what projects reality as we know it. So we are in a ever-changing and changeable reality. This reality is ever-changing and always changeable. To take it a step further, to be fly is to play with variables. Just like in dreams, you have a different dream every night. So every night you are journeying through different internal chambers of the mind or the subconscious, which represent the ancient part of your DNA, or the primitive or the primordial aspects of the DNA, as they call junk DNA. So in order to activate or reactivate that so-called junk DNA, or the ancestral or the ancient DNA, you have to journey through these internal chambers, as they call the halls of Amenti, the subconscious mind, the dark side of the moon. And through the activation of that junk DNA, you start to receive transmissions of futuristic thought that people have determined to be extraterrestrial communication. So the person that starts to study synchronicity, which is what happens when you study the internal and the external realms and the connections that they have, which is advanced mathematics. You start to see the patterns within the code that we call the spirit, or living mathematics. You can say human beings are living mathematics, spirits are living mathematics. And since we're on the topic of spirit, we understand the spirit, or the deity, that is associated heavily with the number 7 is Pumbagira. And she represents the concept of vampirism. Pumbagira is considered the sacred whore. The sacred whore is essentially an underground angel, an angel or a light being existing in a earthly realm, the human experience. We also know that Pumbagira is associated with the crossroads, Pumbagira of the 7 crossroads. What is it about the crossroads? The crossroads is where the opposites meet. That positive charge and that negative charge, which creates friction, or as we deem, chaos. So it's the crossroads where that quantum reality is the most advanced, is the energy is the most concentrated at the crossroads. We also understand when we think about vampires, there's an association with the cross, or silver. You know, you would stab vampires through the heart with a silver cross. What is it about silver? Because silver represents yin, or lunar energy. And also the reason that vampires are associated with crosses is because people would bury vampires underneath crosses so that they would not come back from the dead. We also know that in order to keep vampires away, as the folklore goes, you had to sprinkle garlic in your home. We understand that that comes from the tradition of Hecate, which is the goddess of witchcraft, because her devotees would leave garlic at the crossroad in her honor. So that garlic comes from the worship of Hecate. We also understand that Pumbagira isn't necessarily just a feminine deity. She also represents masculinity, the divine masculine as well as the divine feminine, the sun as well as the moon, which is what vampirism represents. Being able to concentrate that solar energy into a lunar state, or a chaos state. Because the number 7, again, is the problem and the solution. So in order to create a solution, you have to create a problem. So Pumbagira allows you to create the problem and figure out the solution. Now let's take this a step further. The flyness is not about the clothes, the money, the material things. It's about being in accordance with the law. Moving in accordance with the law. To be in accord with the law is to be in harmony with the opposites, or to be harmonized with the polarities or the contrast, the yin and the yang. What law are they speaking of? We understand the number 7 is also associated with the 7 hermetic laws, the 7 chakras, the 7 colors, the 7 metals, so on and so forth. The 7 hermetic laws we know is mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, causation, and gender. Mentalism deals with that mental vision, seeing things before they happen. All things must be visualized because the universe is mental. We are in a dreaming universe, a visionary universe. Correspondence is the study of synchronicity, which we should all be familiar with. Being able to notice the patterns of code within the universe, and those patterns of code are mathematical equations that deal with a spirit which links to a certain chamber within the brain or the subconscious mind. When we go to vibration, we know that vibration is your aura, or everything has an aura. So energetically, we are always interacting with everything's aura, which makes everything alive. Polarity is the idea of friction, that positive and that negative charge. And the friction that is produced from that positive and negative charge allows things to not only be destroyed, but created. Rhythm deals with music. We understand music rules the world. The theme track of everybody's life can be found within a song, which is harmonized melodies or harmonized vibrations, harmonized frequencies that are moving in accord with each other. Causation is gravity. Cause and effect. Every effect has a cause. So we give what we get. All things start mentally and externalize or materialize externally. All things start mentally. And lastly, gender. All things will manifest with either a positive charge or a negative charge. Even though we understand all things have a positive and a negative charge because all things come from atoms. Let's take it a step further. We understand in order to get the 7, you have to add the 3 and the 4. We know that the number 3 is a number of Jupiter. We know that 4 is a number of Rahu. Rahu is a demon. Jupiter is an angel. So again, we have this concept of the underground angel. The angel, or the consciousness within the chaos realm, in order to correct the flaws in the known universe. We understand another word that breaks down to 7 is destroy. When you are destroying something, you are removing the impurities, which are promoted by fasting. When you fast, your body essentially eats itself, but it eats all the things that are unpure or impure, which leaves you in a purified state. Another word that breaks down to 7 is Tupac. We know that the artist, the revolutionary Tupac, was very deeply connected with the number 7. For those who are not familiar with that, just type in Tupac and the number 7 in the correspondences. You can spend all day researching that. But his name in and of itself breaks down to that mystical number 7, which he spoke highly about the concept of Black Jesus, which is the mysteries of El Cristo Negro, which is the carbonated or blackened Christ. The reason Christ was depicted in a carbonated or blackened state to represent the yin and the yang principles fusing together. That blackened or that carbon represent the yin, the darkness, and that Christ represented the sun, which is a combination of the sun and Saturn, or the sun and the moon. So why was El Cristo Negro whitened? It wasn't necessarily a racist thing. It was to remove the feminine principle. So now all we have is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, without the mother or the daughter. So the whitening of Jesus was more so to remove the feminine principle than to, an act of trying to whitewash history. It goes deeper than that. Lastly, flyness promotes supernatural occurrences in reality. Because fly breaks down to number 7, but flyness breaks down to number 1. And we know that the number 1 resonates with the energy of the sun, which is being able to have a magnetic pull on planets around you. So to have an aura of flyness promotes supernatural occurrences. And lastly, Flyness, again, it's not about the clothes, the money, the material things. It's about being in accordance with the law, the 7 Hermetic laws, and learning how not only what their principles represent, but how they correlate and correspond and contrast with each other, creating this chaotic or quantum world of chaos. But the light that is generated from the chaos is why the warrior comes from the dojo. The dark side of the moon is the dojo of the warrior. The dojo is the yin, the warrior is the yang. So, ask yourself, are you fly enough to succeed? And lastly, when we look at the symbol of the number 7, we see that it is a winged serpent. If you draw the number 7 in a traditional sense, it looks like a cross and a serpent, a winged serpent. And we know the serpent represents, the earthly or the demonic energy. So when it has wings, it is a combination of the yin and the yang, the ascended master from planet Earth. Peace.